Next on Q, new life for an historic old building.
All of the elements are in place for real revitalization of this area.
South Hills High School in Mount Washington closed 20 years ago. See how the community plans to bring it back. And welcome to On Q. I'm Michael Bartley. For 21 years, a building in Mount Washington has been sitting idle, but it wasn't always an abandoned property. At one time, it was the lifeblood of nearby neighborhoods. And for young people, their own lives circled around that building. Now, the old South Hills High School is about to get its life back. There's a new effort to revitalize both the building and the neighborhood. On Q contributor Harold Hayes went back to his alma mater for a look back and a look forward.
They sang the alma mater for the last time at South Hills High today, a farewell ceremony marking the end of 29,000 South Hills diplomas during 69 years. There were few dry eyes.
Right now, there are about 280 students here at South Hills. They began to phase out the student population when they decided to close the school. When I went here, there were 10 times that number, nearly 3,000 students.
It's been my whole life, and I think the city was a great place to get an education and continues to be that. And it's a shame that progress makes us close schools.
My math teacher, who has since passed away, thought there was a lot of good in the school that became a career for him.
We just had a very good time. There's a lot of good memories in it, and as I said, I hate to see it go. I was hoping my kids could go here.
While the South Hills Alumni Association tries to keep the organization alive, the alumni themselves wonder what the board will do with the building. They've considered administrative offices or special program centers, but the old coal heating system is in need of repair, and selling the building could be difficult. As I walked through my old school today, I couldn't help but think about the good times and the bad, the wins and the losses, the riots and the reunions. And during those reminiscences, I was somehow reminded that through those reunions and alumni functions, South Hills High will never close. Only the building will. More than 20 years later, though, the hallways of South Hills High, lit only by what comes through classroom windows, are nothing like they were when I last saw them. I was told I wouldn't recognize the place. I thought that was impossible. After all, I knew the place inside and out.
So we're going from second to third floor. First to second. First to second.
They were right. Here's the auditorium and its stately pillars. Seems like I always sat near row Z. Here's the cafeteria. Here's the gym. This is what decades of deterioration will do.
I believe this is where I had English class. And I'll never forget the words of that story in 1986. South Hills High School will never close, only the building will. Well, now there's hope that there can be new life for this building, and the folks in Mount Washington have been working on it for a long time.
This has been an enormous dead zone right in the middle of this residential neighborhood. It's an incredible location. It's an easy walk down to the T-line. It's an easy walk to one of our emerging business districts, and the housing stock around it is solid. So all of the elements are in place for real revitalization of this area.
For a long time, nothing happened, and the community was realizing that this is just a dark blob sitting here in the midst of a neighborhood, and something needs to happen here. And fortunately, several people in our Community Development Corporation over the years had gotten interested and gotten involved and started to work on it. And I've been a part of it now, I suppose, 5, 8 years, something like that.
Roberta Jones and Ginny Gates co-chair the Mount Washington Community Development Corporation's Committee on the redevelopment of South Hills High School.
I owned 3 properties here, and so I'm concerned with the housing stock and the folks that live here. There's a lot of older folks that live around here. They're waiting for this to open so that they can become residents. This has brought the property values down in this neighborhood. And it's such a convenient place. Our T is right down over the hill. You can practically spit there, and you have our public transportation. So this is, and it's been a white elephant for this neighborhood. It's just kept it depressed. This is the key to open up this whole side of Mount Washington that we've been waiting for.
Dawn McCormick, class of 1958, is the current president of the South Hills Alumni He says the school board's decision to repair the roof helped the marketing effort to a developer.
Recently, the board went in and removed all the asbestos, put a new roof on top, and they took away a greenhouse that was up there to make it more conducive to the development team.
And you believe that helps?
I believe definitely it helped. I mean, it's going to happen.
Here's what they hope will happen. A mixed use for 150 square feet of the building that would attract a spectrum of generations.
At the very top, we're going to have market rate units. We'll have about 25 market rate units. And
those are lofts.
Those are lofts. The thing that's nice about combining market rate and affordable housing is that you get a more integrated community. The senior housing is going to be accessed from the upper part of the site, and we'll have a park-like setting out here. This will be the parking lot with the remainder of the shop wing wall serving as a retaining wall. The entrance will be here into a lobby, and there'll be a grand stair coming down into a community room which has a greenhouse and a green roof which overlooks the southern part of the site. U-shaped, and we're developing that green roof in the center of that, which is a south-facing court, which will be a sunny place to sit. It will also give seniors the opportunity to look over onto where the daycare will be happening, and so there's an intergenerational play going on there.
Also to find an opportunity for the community to come back into this building. And what we decided very early on that the largest need is the idea of a wellness and fitness center. And so we have identified about 7,000 square feet on the southern end of the building, which actually would have its own entrance point off of the parking area and would allow access into this part of the building where one of the gymnasiums currently is located.
But it takes money, and the community group is looking to move forward.
From the developer's point of view, he has to see that some tax credits are obtained. That way the numbers can work for him. It can be a profitable experience for him and certainly something for the neighborhood. So I think once that happens, then the other pieces will begin to fall into place.
Still a lot of work to do just to get this project off the ground. But if it does, it could mean that South Hills High will never close again. Not even the building. Now, the Mount Washington Community Development Corporation is still waiting for approval from the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency. They had hoped to get going this fall, but that hasn't happened yet. Among the things that complicate the project is that the property is so big and, as you see, has been sitting there for so long. But they think with community support and a rallying cry from South Hills alumni, something can get started soon. Now, I mentioned in the piece that my graduating class in 1971 was 650. The largest graduating class was in 1970, the year before. More than 700 people graduated that year. Wow. Nearly 3,000 students in that building. So that lets you know how big the building was, and we were the kind of the peak of the baby boom.
I was at 3,000 students, and because I'm struck by the size of the building. You had to be overwhelmed walking around there and thinking you didn't recognize things.
They said you wouldn't recognize. I said, oh, I'll always recognize this place. But without the walls, you know, without the floors, you know, it really takes you back. And it shows you the potential of the building, and then the problem of sitting for 21 years. But they're hopeful, and they want to move forward.
But even despite all that, I mean, that's an old-time building. Structurally, it's probably pretty good.
You'd probably need a nuclear weapon to destroy that building, so you'd do best to do something with it.
Yeah. Harold Hayes, great story as usual. Thanks so much. When we come back, as